everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Alexis here. It is Military Monday. It has been a long time since I put a video up for Military Monday, and I thought it was a good time to get back into it. So, as you know, if you are aware of the current climate, businesses, amusement parks, restaurants, a lot of things are starting to open back up. Along with all of the businesses that are reopening, if you have a loved one that's in basic military training right now, I know you're probably, as far as like missing them like crazy and everything goes, like that goes without saying. But graduations for basic military training have been private for a couple of months now, and we live near the base. We kind of live actually on the base that those graduations are held at. So it's something that we're constantly faced with. Also, I'm on a Air Force spouse page where that is something that gets talked about a lot, and everybody's kind of wondering when it's gonna happen. So today I am bringing you my predictions about when, and most importantly, when are we going to start seeing graduations in person again, and are they going to make any changes? What changes I think they're going to make, what changes I think they should make, given the situation and how many people go through graduation and every given week. Let's first talk about how I think BMT graduations are going to look different from a civilian standpoint. I don't know anything, my husband doesn't know anything, so all of the things that I have written down here, from what I think is going to be changed to when I think they're going to start letting people come back to view these ceremonies, all of this is just my predictions. I don't have any insight, I don't know anything official, I just can base it off of what I know living in the area. Prior to your spouse leaving for basic military training, they were required by their recruiter to fill out a paper that had 10 slots for 10 people 18 years or older to get a background check done so they could be granted base passes to come on base for graduation. If you were inviting minors, that's something totally different. They don't need to have a background check and a base pass. Now, like I said, they were allotted 10 spaces, and I do think that's going to change. I think until we have a vaccine for this thing, or we are able to develop herd immunity, I wouldn't be surprised if in the very beginning only spouses or parents are allowed to come, just because it diminishes the amount of people that are going to be in those areas. Because to be perfectly honest, I mean, I can insert some graduation footage that I have. You're packed in there pretty tight during almost all of the ceremonies, and really for other things as well. Pretty much, unless you get out on town pass, until you get out on the days where you're out like around the city, you're packed into places like sardines, because there's just so many people. With everybody being able to bring 10 adults and however many minors, there's a lot. So I definitely think that you're going to see a cut down on those, at least when they first start doing all this again. The second thing that I think is going to change, and I don't know if it has already, lodging used to be offered to families who are coming in for basic military graduation if they had a way to get on base the Wednesday. They could say Wednesday to Sunday. If they didn't, your base pass goes into effect Thursday morning at like 6 a.m. You could book it for Thursday. Thursday through whatever. So I think that's going to change, if it hasn't already. I think, to be perfectly honest, they're not going to allow non-military personnel, and even then, they might not allow people who aren't on orders to stay. So, a little bit of this is one of my famous rabbit holes, okay? So we're just gonna go down this, and I'm gonna give you more information than what you needed to know. So, if you wanna skip, I'll put the time stamp of what to skip to. If you are military personnel and you have access to getting on base, you can stay at pretty much any base lodging, even if you're not on orders. So like if you're driving cross country on like a family vacation and you know that you're stopping in a city with a military base, you can stay at the lodging if they have any availability. And what their availability policy is depends on the hotel. So I think once we start seeing basic training, graduations open back up to families and friends, I don't think that the families really, or any non-military personnel unless those on orders, will be able to stay at the hotel. I know that those weekends are crazy busy, and for the most part, we were always booked. So I don't see that opening up, at least right away. However, there are a lot of really good hotels in the area, and I will include my How to Vacation San Antonio video right up here, where I talk about some of my favorites in the area. So if you want to go check that out. But yeah, I don't think lodging is going to be available for non-military personnel for a while. If it even is at this point, I'm not sure. My next one isn't going to come as a shock to anybody. I do believe that they're going to make masks mandatory. Again, at least until we develop a vaccine or we get herd immunity where we don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't think that you'll be able to go around without wearing a mask. I know just to go to the grocery store on base, to go to the BX, you have to have a mask on. So it would not surprise me if even when they open up, even when they deem it safe enough that they're going to allow families to come back in, that we're going to be able to go without a mask. So I feel like that won't change until they change the policy base-wide. So kind of like what I was saying in how I think they're going to limit the number of family or the amount of people that an airman can invite to basic graduation, I also think they're going to reconfigure the seating. So I kind of mentioned how like everybody is packed in like sardines. You are literally packed in like sardines from the moment you sit down for the airman's run until you drop your airmen off in their quarters for the night. Like, especially when on the days where there's not town passes, because there's only so many places on base that you can go. Everybody's kind of the same idea. And he graduated in the middle of July in Texas. It was miserable outside. So literally everybody was inside. We were packed like sardines. It was disgusting. So I think that they're going to have to reconfigure seating at those ceremonies in order to maintain a healthy system. So on Fridays of the graduation weekend, you have the official graduation parade in which all of the MTIs march their heritage flights in front of some higher up, like officer higher up in the Air Force, to pass and review. And they dress in their blues, and it's really beautiful. It's a lot of fun. But after that, they offer open house. And open house is the opportunity to see where your spouse or your child or your friend has been living for the past 8.5 weeks. Which I don't, it's something. It is something. I don't think I've ever seen so many twin beds in a room. And it's all like nice and neat, and I think that's the most organized my husband has ever been in his entire life. Although if I showed you his sock drawer right now, it'd probably be about the same way as that his like closet area was in at BMT. So, but you get to see where they lived, you get to see where they slept, you get to see how they have their like their wardrobe. And it's just like a cool opportunity to like really kind of see firsthand what your spouse has been doing for the past 8.5 weeks. However, it's you, your airmen, everybody else that came in your party, all the other airmen, and everybody that they brought in. So it gets crowded, and even though it's a pretty big and open space, you're surrounded. So I think that they're either going to have to stagger it and make a schedule, or they might just do away with that at the beginning. Because at some points I was like this. Or like, it was crowded. So I think at least at the very beginning, they're not going to have open houses. Oh, another part of the graduation weekend is Friday after the graduation parade and Saturday, like almost pretty much all of Saturday, they have these things called town passes, which they can go out in San Antonio, and there's like a certain perimeter that they can't go past. If you want to know more information about that, I'll include just my BMT graduation video right up here, where I go into all that stuff in more detail. They have like certain perimeters. They give them a list, like it's drilled into their head from, I think, the beginning of graduation week, the places they're not allowed to go, the things they're not allowed to do. So your airman is going to be like OCD like about that stuff. But typically for graduation, people come, they do Six Flags, they do SeaWorld, they go down to the Riverwalk, and on both days you have them until they have to be back by 8. I think, and again, it's going to be in the, like, I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything. I'm not giving you any certainty. I think those hours are going to be cut back. I don't know. I just have a feeling that, okay. I think they're either going to be cut back or they're going to limit the places that they can go even more. I don't know if they would do both or if they would do one or the other. I think if they don't cut back hours, they're going to limit more places, especially those high capacity areas like Six Flags, SeaWorld, the Riverwalk, sporting events, because of the crowds. Because the locals go to all these places too. It's not just out-of-towners. So I wouldn't be surprised if the time that they're allowed out and the places that they are allowed to go to are both cut down, at least until they get a handle on this whole mess. Now for the moment that you all have waited so patiently for. When do I think they're going to start allowing families back to graduation? Well, again, living on the base that they do graduation, they do BMT and graduation at, we have also experienced lockdowns and other things like all the other areas of the country have. And San Antonio is slowly starting to open back up. Six Flags still isn't open. SeaWorld isn't open. The Riverwalk, I think it was restaurants, it was up in the air with restaurants. I think you could go to the Missions, but I'm not sure. But slowly but surely, we're starting to open everything back up. And as the city has been opening things back up, the base general and the base chief have been looking into everything, and they've started to announce things. General things for people who live here. It's nothing exciting. Nothing like, we're planning on opening graduation this time. But because they are starting to open things and they've started to lift up different parts, some of the rules that they instituted to help maintain the safety of their workers and of the families that come to base, I would suspect that maybe the beginning of July. And I talked to my husband about this, and he doesn't know anything either. But we were both kind of thinking, like, they started opening things back up. They started, like, kind of leaning on everything at, like, end-ish of May. So I think maybe July, we might start seeing that. I would suspect, if not July, hopefully by the end of the summer. Again, it's like trying to guess when a theme park is going to reopen, or the movie theaters or something like that. I don't have any definite answer. I don't work for the base in any capacity anymore. More importantly, I don't work for the people who would know these kind of things. So, but as things start to go open back up, and as they see how other high volume areas are going to be handling that, they might start making decisions and making plans. I'm sure they're already talking about it. But my guess would be beginning of July, and if not then, hopefully no later than the end of the summer. So I hope you found this informative. I hope it kind of did something to quench your anxieties if you do have a loved one that's at basic training right now. I know how hard this time is under normal circumstances. I mean, we didn't have a global pandemic when my spouse was going through this. And it was still the worst 8.5 weeks of my life. So I hope this brought you a little bit of comfort. If not, it was able to provide you with a distraction, a little light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. Anyway, I hope you guys are being good to yourselves and being good to each other. I hope you're taking this time during this whole crisis to learn, reflect on yourself, and to speak out for those who can't speak out for themselves. It's what I'm trying to do. It's what my spouse is trying to do. And I hope that it's what you're trying to do as well. Find the good in everyone. We're not inherently evil. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.